For the vast majority of human history, the plains were our home. The savannas offered everything a primate needed: wide open spaces to track game, abundant water, and a climate that didn't kill you by morning. But then something shifted. Archaeological records are beginning to tell a story that contradicts everything we thought we knew about our ancestors. We used to think the mountains were barriers, walls of rock and ice that kept us in the valleys. We were wrong. The mountains weren't walls, they were destinations. Today, we're going back 2 million years. We are leaving the safety of the lowlands to answer a single, haunting question. Why did ancient humans choose to live where the air is thin, the cold is biting, and the earth is vertical? This is the story of how we became a high-altitude species. Our journey starts in the Ethiopian highlands. At an altitude of 2000 meters, researchers at Melka Kunture found something staggering. Homo erectus was here 2 million years ago. These weren't modern humans, yet they were already adapting to the chill of the highlands. But the real mystery lies with Homo sapiens and our cousins, the Denisovans. 40,000 years ago, the Tibetan plateau was a frozen desert. Oxygen levels were 40% lower than at sea level. To a lowland human, this is a death zone. Altitude sickness causes the lungs to fill with fluid and the brain to swell. And yet, we found stone tools at Baishia Karst cave, 3,200 meters up, which means that our ancestors lived here. But why did they came here? What made them to leave their comfort zones at lowlands and come to mountains? How did they climb the mountains? During ice ages, the plains dried up, but mountains trap clouds. They are water towers. To survive a drought, you had to go up to where the glaciers were melting. Other reason for shifting towards the mountains were the predators. The earth had big predators which can tear our ancestors. On the plains, you are prey. In a mountain cave, you are a fortress. You have a 360-degree view of every predator for miles. But still there is a big question. How did our ancestors climb these mountains? Today we have modern tools and equipments, but that time all they had was bones and stone tools. So how did they manage to reach these highlands? It is a common misconception that ancient humans climbed like modern mountaineers with ropes and harnesses. They didn't tackle vertical ice walls for sport. They used strategic pathfinding and biological resilience to move through the terrain. Ancient humans rarely climbed straight up a face. They followed natural ramps. They used ridgelines, the spines of the mountains, where the wind blows snow away, leaving firm ground. These ridges provided a clear line of sight and avoided the trap of deep valley snow or thick forest undergrowth. Early humans were master trackers. They followed the trails of mountain goats, ibex, and sheep. These animals have an instinct for the most efficient, low-energy paths through rocky terrain. By following animal dung and tracks, humans found hidden passes and water sources that weren't visible from the plains. They didn't just charge to the peak and stay there. They practiced transhumance. They would live in the lowlands during winter and slowly move up the mountain as the snow melted in the spring. This allowed their bodies to acclimatize naturally to the thinning oxygen over weeks rather than hours, preventing altitude sickness. In the Bale Mountains of Ethiopia, ancient humans didn't hunt mammoths. They hunted the giant mole rat. It sounds unglamorous, but these rodents were fat-rich protein bars that stayed underground, shielded from the wind. They were a reliable year-round food source that didn't migrate away. They wore thick furs and skins tightly air-packed to their body. They used needles made of bones to do so. This is perhaps the most underrated invention in human history. Without the needle, you cannot sew airtight clothing. In the Andes and the Himalayas, the first settlers used bone needles to create fitted clothing. By layering skins, fur facing inward for heat, leather facing outward for wind, they created a microclimate around their bodies. They brought the warmth of the plains with them in the form of a coat. Fire wasn't just for cooking, it was an atmospheric regulator. Ancient hearths found in Peruvian rock shelters were positioned specifically to circulate warm air against the back wall of the cave, creating a radiant heating system that allowed families to survive minus 20 degrees Celsius nights. But tools only go so far. Eventually, the mountain changes your very DNA. When a person from the plains goes to the mountains, their body panics. It produces more red blood cells to carry more oxygen. This makes the blood thick like sludge, which causes heart attacks. But Tibetans don't do this, thanks to a gene called EPAS1, which they likely inherited from interbreeding with Denisovans. Their bodies don't overproduce blood cells. They've evolved to be more efficient with the oxygen they do have. In the Andes, evolution took a different route. High altitude Quechua people evolved larger lung capacities and specialized hemoglobin to bind oxygen more tightly. We didn't just conquer the mountains, we let the mountains redesign us. Why did we go? We went because we are a species defined by the horizon. We went because the mountains offered a refuge when the world grew dry and dangerous. But mostly we stayed because the view from the top changed how we saw ourselves. The mountains didn't just give us safety, they gave us perspective. And 2 million years later, we are still looking up.